It's the very fabric of Lao culture and society.
The Lao women who don't know how to weave cannot get married.
And it's traditionally passed on from generation to generation.
We have the mothers who might be twisting or plying the silk, and the daughters weaving.
From the capital Vientiane to remote villages throughout the country, silk and cotton weaving is an integral part of everyday life. But in a country where everyday life can be a struggle, the meticulous and labor-intensive practice has faltered. Experienced weavers take a day to produce 9 yards of unpatterned fabric. On the other hand, traditional Lao textiles with complex designs can take up to 6 months to produce. And in some cases, weavers can spend a whole day producing just 1 inch of material. It's no wonder mass-produced fabrics are becoming popular. Nearly 200 people live in the remote southern village of Ban Van Kun. But here, only 3 villagers keep up the tradition. No is one of them. She learned to set up a loom and weave when she was 14 years old. No is working on a piece that she'll try to sell at the village market for 30,000 kip, or just over $3. That will enable her to buy enough rice to last her family a month. No explains that her silk textiles are not just a source of income, but also immense pride. She's teaching her sister Bun Tan the skills that she hopes will provide the youngster and the ancient tradition security.
And after marriage, they have to prepare the goods or the products for their husband to go trading. So it's an income for the family.
Kong Tung Santanit's goal is to revive traditional silk weaving in rural villages. In 1993, she and her sister opened the Fang Mai Gallery in Vientiane. It's an unconventional training center. Rural villagers come to learn the skills their mothers and grandmothers were unable to teach them when their lives were disrupted by the Indochina War. So every year, 36 rural villagers make their way to this center, where they learn a valuable education and roughly $60 a month producing silk textiles.
We have the agreement between the one who come to learn how to weave here, that when they come to the village, their own village, they have to train other people in the village. 1 year, 20 to 30 people in the village.
Toy graduated from the program 5 years ago. She decided to stay to teach her fellow Lao and others.
I'm hopeful for my future and my family's because I can make a living. I'm very proud of my ability to reach both the Lao people and foreigners.
Every year, 36 Japanese students train for a week. Kong Tung shows us how the center exposes the students to every facet of the silk industry.
This is mulberry leaves to feed the silkworm. This is the house of the silkworm. When it starts spinning, without this, the silkworm cannot spin. When they training here and they have the strong winds and they can fly on the sky. At that, our hope about our students.
At Vientiane's morning market, silk textiles abound. They're sold to natives and a handful of tourists. The price? Anywhere from $15 to $100. Laos was once the largest exporter of silk, but that all changed in the 1970s when the Indochina War broke out. 30 years on, the industry is slowly getting back on its feet with the help of foreign expertise. An hour from Vientiane takes us to a one-of-a-kind government joint venture. Last year, the Japanese government gave $74,000 in aid to help Laos build a research center on silk farming. Kazuhiro Yamakawa is an expert on sericulture. Japan's International Cooperation Agency assigned him to be on hand at the 5-hectare site to train Lao farmers how best to grow mulberry plants and raise silkworms. For the Lao government, it's a project that has so far paid off. It's managed to convince the 100 farmers who've trained here that growing mulberry and raising silkworms are more profitable than continuing with their slash-and-burn techniques and growing poppies for the opium trade. You take this and you take to the farm, right? Suntun Intasan is the deputy director of the research center. He says as demand for Lao textiles grows, so too will interest in cultivating a new cash crop.
The seen in the market now, every year we import from the introduced from the other countries, about 80%. So the scene we just produced in the Lao only 20% in the past.
It's been a long journey for the country's silk weaving industry. No doubt it's stepped out of the shadows of its neighbor Thailand, where the silk industry has long been successful. In the past decade, Lao Textiles have won recognition and respect overseas. In a colonial mansion in the heart of the capital lies the company called Lao Textiles.
This particular piece is a replica of an old Lao piece, and it's a traditional motif that was used in ceremonial pieces.
Carole Cassidy started Lao Textiles in 1990 with a handful of weavers. It became the first fully foreign-owned enterprise in the communist country. Cassidy's goal was to preserve and publicize to outsiders the country's rich silk weaving heritage and bringing it into the 21st century. Today, she works with more than 200 silk farmers in northern Laos and has an army of 48 weavers. Her company produces complicated traditional and modern textiles for the foreign market, namely museums and private collectors. The textiles are sold for hundreds to thousands of US dollars. Indeed, there are profits to be made. But Cassidy says a big part of it is about turning a traditional skill into a profession.
From the business side, of course, that we have this extended family situation with our employees. We have reasonable salaries, good salaries by local standards. We have health benefits for everyone, so they have a sense of security. We have a pension scheme, so they know when they do leave that they'll be taken care of.
Back in Ban Van Khun village, No proudly shows us one of her textiles. While her pieces may not command huge sums, she's content. They're enough to put food on the table. But most importantly, she knows there's a good chance 7-year-old Buntan and her friends will be able to carry on their priceless heritage.